Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Retake Hearthstone Edition. My name is Alex Shiinkari Erdenberger. I'm here joined today by Amar Guiyze Nanjani to my left and Peter Moosey Knudsen to my right. Two very recent legend players on the Hearthstone ladder. Congrats to both you guys. Claps. Claps. A little bit of claps. All right.
Go for it. Thanks, buddy.
Today we are going to be talking about taking a look back at our review of our card review cards from Ungoro, and we are going to be talking about maybe a few cards we might have hyped up a little too much, and maybe some cards that might have gone past our radar. So we are going to start with some underrated cards, and we're going to work our way from 10 to 1. We're going to talk about it a bit, and then maybe give these cards a new rating. So I'm going to go ahead and start off the list. Number 10, we're going to start with a card that's called Eggnapper. This is the 3-mana 3/1 Death Rattle summon 2/1/1 Raptors. And this kind of evaded my radar just because it was like, it's okay. I mean, it's a 3-mana 3/1, but when you're playing with Mark of the Lotus and Power of the Wild and you've already played a million minions on top of this, getting 2/1/1s on top of that when the aggro druid list is just really, really good.
Yeah, like it's just solid in aggro druid, and the Raptors are beasts as well. So if you innervate this out on one and then it dies, which it usually does because it's 1 health, you got 2/1/1s which you can buff with the Mark.
Mm-hmm.
What was it? Mark of Yasharaj, right?
Mark of Yasharaj. You also have like their AoE buffs as well. Savage Roar.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep,
Exactly.
Mark of the Lotus.
Yep. Like the 3/1 dies so easily, but you don't really care because it's 2/1/1s.
And they're beasts.
That's just insane in Beast Druid and tokens with all the buffs you can have for AoE.
Yeah, it's just a solid card, right?
Yeah, I think it's a 3 out of 5 for me now. Like before I looked at it as like, okay, maybe it's like a 2, but like there are decent. I think there are maybe a lot more applications for this card than I saw before. So I'm gonna go ahead, looking back, and especially now, I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5.
I'd probably give it something. Like before, we were just like, this card is straight garbage. But in hindsight, it's not that bad. So yeah, I'd say a 3 is fair.
Like this is really, really good in the aggro druid list, or any list that wants really a lot of death rattles. Like this is probably not better than Rat Pack.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
in the
playing
Hunter
Hunter,
list.
you just run Rat Pack.
Yeah.
It's just better. But like slightly worse than Rat Pack as a neutral card is pretty decent.
Yeah. And then, you also have the having a 3-drop in Warlock. Like, this might be able to see in Warlock just because of the Pterodax, which is also really, really good.
I guess that could work. I don't know. I don't think it's good enough to play as a 3-drop
Maybe
in
once
Zoo.
Councilman rotates out.
Yeah.
But
Once Councilman, yeah.
Then maybe it's a thing.
All right. Let's see. Just move on to the next one. See, it's at times like this where I wish I was better at OBS, because now I'm like not sure if I can like advance the slideshow. Like, okay, Oh no, well it reset because I'm dumb. Hold on.
Nice.
Okay.
Well, the next card should be Firefly.
Yeah, the next card should be Firefly. You guys should start talking about it while I go in and try to fix this so that we move on to the next card, as opposed to waiting another minute and a half for it to...
Okay.
Well,
another
this
2
is
minutes.
a card I initially thought was like really strong, but you guys weren't weren't so excited about it, because on initial sight, a 1-mana 1/2 is kind of garbage, but like the elemental synergy is so good, plus the fact that it gives you another 1-drop, so you can choose when to curve and how to curve to really help you in the early game to push out tempo. Like you can play it on turn 1, turn 2, turn 3 with another 2-drop, however you want to do it, and it's just really solid to help you gain tempo. With curving out.
Also, it's just like a solid card in general, right? Like it works in so many decks. Like Quest Rogue, it's like a staple. It works well in like Zoo because it's just value. one card, 2/1/2s, and it works with elemental decks. So like, it's not it's not a hugely impactful card, but it's just like a very like solid card in general. Which is why I think that we overrated it.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely underrated it just because, like, oh, it's a 1/2, and usually when you're playing the elemental deck, you want to be playing stuff on curves. So play a 1-drop, and then play a 2-drop, and then play a 3-drop, and then play a 4-drop, and then play a 5-drop. You know, but Firefly is really, really good because not only in the elemental deck does it give you something always to play on curve, like, oh, I don't have an elemental to play this turn, right? Maybe you want to play a Tolvir Stone Shaper, and you're like, okay, Tolvir Stone Shaper and elemental, so that you can get that elemental synergy continually going over and over
Yeah,
again.
yeah.
You know, we also talk about the quest rogue, where we're playing igneous elemental as well in order to get the tokens, right? Firefly is just really, really great because of that.
Because you run Firefly, you run igneous elemental, and like you can win some games without even needing to use balance effects.
Yeah, and then
So,
and then we also talk about the Hunter Quest as well. Like, a lot of people at first were not running Firefly in the Hunter Quest, and then, you know, oh, wait, we have 2 1-drops to be playing in this deck, so we should just be playing Firefly along to go along with it. So I mean,
the Hunter Quest is bad, but if you run
the Hunter Quest
you
is
run
bad,
Firefly.
but this is another application of the card. I mean, this is also seeing play an aggro druid as well, and there are some Zoo Warlocks that are playing it as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like another solid.
I mean, the other thing,
very good 1-drop.
I mean, it also has a solid stat line. I mean, 1/2 is pretty great against, you know, a lot of X1s and even 1/1s as well. So
kills Magma Rager.
Yep, kills Magma Rager. We
I
did
mean,
it.
You don't play it for just its stats, but it's like 2 1/2s in one card, which is pretty solid.
Yeah, and it's like that. I think I've talked about this. Like, Firefly is just an obnoxious stat line. Like, it has low enough health that you don't want to deal 3 damage to it, but it has high enough health that you can't kill it with 1 damage. So you're in the awkward phase of, do I Frostbolt it? Do I axe it? Do I attack it and then Mortal Coil it? Do I ping it? Do I attack and ping? Like, it's just in this really awkward position that it survives the 1 damage, and then you really just feel bad about dealing 3 damage to it. So that's why I definitely like this card a whole lot. And, you know, after seeing its application in more than just the elemental deck, I feel like this card is more of a 4 out of 5 than a 3 out of 5. What do you guys think?
I think it's a 5 out of 5.
Really?
There's so many things you can do with it.
Yeah. If we say 5 out of 5 is like means a staple card, then this is definitely a 5 out of 5 because it's in so many decks. Like, it's just.
Yeah. I mean, it's not broken or anything, but
it's not broken.
It's gonna be played in
like Azure Drake, right?
Deck.
Like Azure Drake was ran in every deck. This is like Azure Drake for faster decks because it's ran in like a lot of low curve decks.
Right. So basically, what we're saying here is, since it's a 5 out of 5 because if you can fit it in the deck, it goes in every single time.
Right. Most of the time, like I just fit in so many decks.
And it's just, like you said, it's great. It works in a bunch of different ways, and, you know, it can trade with a bunch of early minions. It has that 2 health, that awkward, you know, a little bit of an annoying stat line. It also provides multiple 1-drops for token decks, for quest decks, and for aggro decks. So it's great. It's great all around. I just don't think it's a 5 out of 5 just because, like, Azure Drake literally went in any deck. But with that, we're gonna move on to our next card, and it is called Shadow Visions. 2 mana, discover a copy of a spell in your deck. I severely underrated this card just because, like, I was like, well, you get another copy of like maybe the card you need, but like a lot of the times you're getting what you want. Like, usually the card
is a discover, so you can pick.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I still don't think this card's like amazing, but it's definitely better than we initially rated it.
It definitely gets played in almost every priest deck, right?
Yeah. Like on ladder, it's easy play. Whenever you face a priest, usually they run this card.
Yeah.
It's just a very strong like utility card. Like, you're playing Inner Fire Priest, for example.
Mm-hmm.
You can use it to dig for Divine Spirit, Inner Fires. You're playing Purify Priest, which, believe it or not, is actually not that bad right now. You can use it to dig for a Purify for your 4/8s or your 4/5s.
Yep.
You know, it's just solid.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's really good. I mean, like, even in the decks that are like running Lyra, that Toast and Brian Kibler have been testing, like, it's really good for picking up another like control-y kind of card, and even in like a control priest, like being able to pick up like
Yeah.
my favorite application of this card is playing Elise, playing Shadow Visions, getting the
Yeah, getting
Ungoro
the
pack. Like
Yeah.
that is awesome. But
That's the
even
thing.
being
I didn't
able to
even
be like,
think about
I really need a Dragonfire potion here. Play the Shadow Visions, get the Dragonfire potion. Because usually when you need a card, it's not in your hand. It's usually in your
Yeah,
deck,
right.
which means the cards that you don't need are usually in your hand, meaning that you have a higher chance of probably seeing the card that you're looking for,
Yeah.
you know, from the hand. So I think I'd give this like a 3.5, like 4 out of 5. Like that's kind of like my range. I don't think it's a 5, but
Yeah.
it's definitely very like it's one of Priest's best cards that they've gotten out of the set.
Also,
I'll
to
give it a
note,
3.5.
if you combo it with Radiant Elemental, you could play this plus the spell, and it's essentially 2 mana less, which
Yep.
is a free
Yeah.
Shadow Visions. So,
Which
that's
means
another
that
really
if
strong-
Shadow Visions is one of the few spells left in your deck, you can actually just lock your opponent out of their turn. But I'm fairly certain you'll get banned if you
You won't
try
get
this
banned, but I think they're gonna fix that at some
combo.
point.
Yeah, I mean they have
Like how
to,
they
right?
fixed the Nozdormu Curse of Reform combo.
Yeah. Well, the problem was you had to click through, but we're gonna move right on to our next card, and that is the number 7, and that is the Radiant Elemental. It's a 2-mana 2/3. We talked about this a bit. Your spells cost 1 less. So I think what's huge here is like, you know, priest cards are fairly like oddly. I don't want to say oddly, but like they do have sort of an awkward their
Yeah, they're
effects
situational.
are very situational, and cutting their cost by 1 means that you can now combo it with like Priest of the Feast, and turns a lot of your spells that were like, okay, well I can only cast like a couple of these a turn, but I still need to cast more because my opponent still has just so much. And being able to stick a 2/3 on turn 2, like a fairly proactive play this is, and then have
It basically has taunt because it's Sorcerer's
Yeah.
Partnership or Priest. Which is,
Yeah. And since it has 3 health, it's a little harder to remove than some of these aggro decks can do. You know, they have to put a pirate deck warrior would have to put like Fiery War Axe into it. Would they do it? I don't know. Would they have to if they want to remove it? Yeah, because Patches and Swashbuckler or N'Zoth's First Mate isn't going to do it, or Swashbuckler or whatever, right?
Exactly.
And this makes a lot of your cards a lot later just a little bit better. And I think I made this card like a 2, saying like, maybe you really don't want to play it because on turn 2, maybe you want to be playing Doomsayer. But like this card is great.
But now this is in like every single Priest deck.
Yeah.
It's just good.
Yeah.
Like,
Even
originally
Sorcerer's
it was rated
Partnership.
low because, I mean, when you think about Priest, it doesn't have good spells,
Yeah.
but that doesn't really matter too much. Like, even just one spell's pretty strong, and even without spells, a 2/3 with Pseudo Taunt is really good against aggro decks.
Yep.
I
Yeah.
mean, it just does a lot of different things.
And then you can play it like on 2. You can play like a Power Word Shield with it. You could play a Potion of Madness with it.
Yep.
You could or later in the game you could combo it with Lyra or Priest of the Feast.
Or
So it's
release
just,
Free from Amber, which is really good.
Yeah, that's the thing. Or you could also use it with Shadow Visions.
Mhm.
Just looked at.
yeah.
I mean, there's so
DDoS
much synergy,
Priest.
so much really good synergies that you can play with this Radiant Elemental.
It's also an elemental. It's
It's also an elemental. So if you ever feel like playing Elemental Priest for some reason,
Yeah, I don't know.
you should probably running this
Hey,
card.
dude, Light Spawn's pretty great. All
True.
right, we're gonna move on to our next card, Crackling Razormaw. This is a 2-mana 3/2 Battlecry Adaptive
is
Friendly Beast.
insane.
This card is
This card
nuts.
is insane.
Yeah,
5 out of 5. This card is
yeah.
insane.
If you're not
I
running
thought
this
it would be
card in your
bad.
Hunter
It's
deck,
insane.
you are just doing it wrong, right?
Yeah.
So like at first glance, I was like, okay, it's a 3/2. Maybe there's like Adapt isn't really that great in terms of like
Yeah.
the
I
minions
feel
that
like
you're
we
playing beforehand.
underrated Adapt. The Adapt mechanic in general. I feel
Oh
like
yeah,
like we underrated that a lot.
Yeah.
It's just
Especially in the
nuts.
early game, it's huge.
Yeah.
this card's a 5 out of 5. Like
Right.
no doubts about it from any of us. Like if you're playing Hunter and you're not playing this card, you're doing it wrong. Just go craft it. It's 40 dust.
Like,
It's fine.
You can get poisonous off of it. You can get like you can buff a 1/1 grandmother, make it a 2/2. You can like win for your high main or your bitter tide Hydra.
You can turn your
It's just got so much utility. It's good in the early game and it's not even that bad in the late game if you
Yeah.
have a board.
and then you can turn your Alley Cat, a 1/1 that made a 1/1, into a Death Rattle that makes 2 1/1s. Like-
Exactly.
Yeah.
The nuts.
Like the
It's
worst.
also
Yeah. Go ahead.
like if you play it on one, it just there's or play it on two on your one drop. There's a bunch of different things you can get that are super strong, which is very solid to gain tempo.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the only reason I underrated this card was because I thought like it wouldn't be great to resolve it on two. Like thinking about like all the things like like sure you can get Death Rattle, get 2/1/1s, but like a lot of these other things are just like either make your like don't increase the vulnerability of your don't increase the survivability of your one drops, or they're just like a useless like you're like when do you ever want to give like +3 health to an alley cat? But that's totally
sometimes you
ignoring
do,
the
against,
fact
like,
that
your
you can
opponent's one
most of the
drops.
time just give +3 attack and just deal 4 to the face and then not care if it
Yeah.
dies.
Or value trade, or trade up into
Yeah, it's
your
really good
opponent's
for
2 drop
value.
or something.
I think we've spent too long away from the face hunter that we've devalued just hitting your opponent in the face. And that's definitely
True.
what you need to be doing, especially against Quest Rogue, especially in this meta.
Yeah, this card's
Yeah,
just
and-
nuts.
Don't worry, we'll be talking about that more in a little bit.
Combos with Rat Pack as well.
Oh
so.
my god, yeah.
Good with Rat Pack. I guess you good with like every card in your deck. It's just good.
Yeah, it's great. We're going to move on to the next card. It is Sherazin, the Corpse Flower, 4 mana, 5/3, Death Rattle. Go dormant, play 4 cards in a turn to revive this minion. Yeah, I think I definitely severely underrated this card because I think I also sort of like underrated the card Mimic Pod. And Mimic Pod's
Mimic Pod's
great.
nuts.
Mimic Pod's really good. Like that's 3 if you play this and play Mimic Pod, right? That's already 3 spells to 3 cards to play on the same turn. And right, people are also playing
right.
Razor Petals now, Firefly, like these are all cards to bring back Sherazin. And in a Miracle Rogue deck where you're already playing a bunch of cards in one turn, like this card doesn't like you just play this on turn 4 cuz well you really don't have anything better to do and you already have a threat that your opponent has to deal with.
And then later on, it's just a free 5/3 whenever you go off.
Yeah.
Which
It's
is,
surprisingly
that's just good.
easy to get off too.
Yeah, surprisingly. Like the only thing is like sometimes you just go off a few times and run out of cards, but like if you're running auctioneers and stuff, like this card's just good.
Yeah, like a lot of the times before, like when you were playing Miracle Rogue, like there were times where you'd play an auctioneer and go off and not really find anything. But this kind of gives you like an insurance policy, saying, okay, I might not go off, but at least I still have a 5/3 and a 4/4 that's drawing me cards on the board. Like that's really good, and I think that gives it a 4 out of 5 for me. Like it's not like every rogue wants to be playing this card because clearly this doesn't help with the Quest Rogue. But this is still a great card. This is still a great card.
Definitely really strong in all Miracle decks.
Mm-hmm. I think it's 4 out of 5 for all of us. And
I would agree.
Yeah, I think it's just the same for all of us. Like I think we totally underrated the amount, like how easy it would be to play 4 cards in a turn.
Yeah.
And you know, with Mimic Pod and even with Razor Petal Lasher, like another card that I severely underrated and then played against, and it actually turned out to be okay. This isn't as bad as I thought.
That's
it was
the
going to
2/2, right?
Yeah, that's the 2/2 that has the one.
Yeah, that card's not that bad.
Yeah. At first we were like, oh, this card's garbage. Don't even play it. And now we're like, oh well, it works with Sherazin, so therefore, it
works in Miracle decks.
Okay.
It gives you that extra fuel, but that's not what we're talking about right now.
Oh, gonna wait a little bit for OBS to catch up with us and move on to the next card because there we go. It's Fire Plume's Heart is 1 mana. This is the Warrior Quest. This play 7 taunts. Reward is Sulfurous, which is a 3 mana 4/2 weapon that turns your hero power into deal 8 damage to a random target. At first I was like, oh well, you're only playing taunt minions, so it's really not that great. And then I looked at the taunt minions and played this deck and realized that this deck is ridiculous. This deck is bonkers. You
called it. You called Taunt Warrior.
Yeah, like I remember us having a conversation, be like, Taunt Warrior is going to be a thing. Like it's probably going to be a meme, but it doesn't matter. And then Taunt Warrior ended up being a thing and not a meme, and actually
really
a good deck.
Arguably tier 1. It's just really solid.
Yeah, like you look at the quality of taunt minions that we have, and you have the Curator, which is really good. You have the Direhorn Hatchling, which is great. You have Dirty Rat, you have the Stonehill Defender, and like there's really like a good number of taunt minions that you actually don't want to put in your deck, but you can get off Stonehill Defender that are like really good, like Tar Lord.
Even Stonehill Defender is good.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Like, it's true, it's a 3-mana 1/4, but it's 2 taunt minions for this quest. And that's
For the
great.
quest, exactly.
And there are a lot of decks that are like not Taunt Warrior that is still running the card in order to find another taunt minion.
Yeah,
like there have been some
Paladins.
Paladin decks floating around.
You can get Tyrion, you can get Wicker Flame, but anyways, we're not talking about that card though. We're talking
Yeah.
about Fire Flame Shark. Like this card's meta defining. Like Taunt Warrior is, I think Taunt Warrior is more popular than Pirate Warrior on ladder, at least in my experience.
Yeah, I would probably agree.
Like a lot of like Legend right now, it's a lot more Taunt Warrior than Pirate Warrior. Like the deck's just solid. Like it doesn't really have any terrible matchups, and it doesn't have a lot of like super good matchups, but it doesn't have really any bad matchups either. So it's just like decent against everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could
Very,
totally agree.
it's pretty good. Pretty good overall.
It's really similar to Cthulhu Warrior back in Old Gods, because like Cthulhu Warrior was basically just Control Warrior, but you added a couple cards in order to beat the control decks, outvalue them. And this is essentially what this card's doing. Like, you toss it away in the aggro matchups most of the time, but like when you get a control matchup, it's just an extra card to help like get so much value to defeat either control decks or mid-range decks.
And with that, we're going to move on to our next card. It is Nesting Rock. It is a 5-mana 4/7 beast battle cry. If you control at least 2 other minions, gain taunt. Yeah, this card is ridiculous. Just absolutely bonkers. Like, at first glance, we're like, oh, it's just a 4/7 taunt. Like, it's like, even if you get this off, it's really not that great. But like 4/7 is like the most awkward amount of stats for like a lot of classes to deal with. Like, the only clean way to deal with this card is to 6-mana Siphon Soul it, or to Blast Crystal Potion it, or Corruption it, right? 7 health is just super awkward for a lot of classes to deal with. And for a hunter that like is constantly playing minions and is most of the time going to have 2 because the amount of death rattle effects they have, like, this card's great. It's perfect, and it curves right into Savannah Highmane. So not only do you have an obnoxious 4/7 taunt that is protecting your smaller minions that your opponent has to get through, you now play a 6/5 on top of that right after it. So this card is just amazing. This card's great.
Yeah.
Really good when you just pop your Rat Pack. It's really good to hide a hyena behind it while that grows, because they can't kill it.
Oh yeah.
So many synergies you can have with Hunter.
The only thing is, it's not as threatening as some other 5-drops, like Bittertide Hydra.
Right.
But,
oh my god, we'll get to that.
Yeah, but depending on how you build your deck, this card is fantastic.
Yeah.
Like if you're building a more heavy mid-range hunter, then this is just good. Like it's just correct.
It beats up on aggro really well too.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Just drop a 4/7 and Pirate Warrior loses.
Yeah,
They can't do
exactly.
anything.
Like it's just solid. Solid card overall.
It's like, and I think we just wrote this off, and it's just like, oh well, hunter decks are just going to be playing the quest, so they're gonna have
they're
to.
not.
That was the big mistake.
Oh, that was the big mistake. We were like,
That's
oh my
where
god, this quest is
the
so
root of
good.
everything comes from.
But I think this is at least a 3 out of 5 for me, like a 3.5, maybe a 4 for me.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, I'd give it like a 3.5, mostly because it isn't played in decks besides Hunter.
Right.
So it's not like a huge staple, but in Hunter, it's just solid.
And we're going to move on to the next card, possibly the most ridiculous card that we've underrated, and it's Bittertide Hydra.
Bittertide.
This is the card that Guiyze loves the most, and he says
card,
very often he says, "Oh, dude, Bittertide Hydra is the truth. This card is amazing.
Yeah.
This card is and I totally agree with him, because this card's Fel Reaver. And for those that don't remember Fel Reaver from back in Goblins vs. Gnomes, it was basically the same card. Whenever your opponent, 5-mana 8/8, whenever your opponent plays a card, you mill the top 3 cards of your library. And this one is
your deck, not your library.
Oh yeah. Magic the Gathering talk. I'm sorry. I'm too used to it. But this card's amazing. 5-mana 8/8. Whenever this minion takes damage, deal 3 to your hero. Right? Face deck doesn't care about its life total. Never.
Exactly.
And you play this on 5, and you're attacking your opponent for 8, and it leads right into Savannah Highmane. Like, wow.
You don't even have to run it in Hunter though. Like some Fire Warriors run it, Aggro Druid runs it. It's just
It's
like
really good in aggro druid.
Yeah.
With
yeah,
Innervate.
it's just a good aggro card, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just super. 5-mana 8/8. It doesn't get more aggressive than that.
Yeah. And like I think the reason that at least I underrated this card was because I looked at like Shaman and I was like, wow, they're going to be playing Fire Elemental, they're going to be playing Portal, they're going to be playing Kalamos, they're going to be playing Blaze Caller, they're going to be playing Lightning Bolt. They have all these little damage here to poke the Bittertide Hydra, right? And they might not be dealing damage to the posh. They might not be dealing damage to the face, but they are going to be dealing a lot of damage to me because they're trying to kill the Bittertide Hydra. They might be using a lot of cards, but they end up with like board position and all this other stuff. And I'm going to be taking like 15. But usually your opponent's dead before that happens.
before it even matters. Like they can play Maelstrom Portal and hit you for 3.
Yeah.
They can do all of that, but then like you're still ahead and you just kill your opponent.
There's some times where it screws you over, but a lot of times it's just so strong. If you're slightly ahead, you just win off it. So
it sucks when you're behind though. Like it's just a dead card when you're behind. But if you're ahead, it just seals the deal.
Yeah.
Well, it's good at clearing their board because they have to trade everything into it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I think this is a 4.5, maybe even a 5 out of all of us.
I give it a 5 because it's
Really
just one of the best aggressive cards in the.
Yeah, I'd give it like a 4.5. I wouldn't go as far as to say 5, but.
Yeah. All right, and with that, we're going to move on to our number 1 underrated card of Un'Goro from our previous review, and it's called The Caverns Below. It is a quest. Play 4 minions with the same name, and reward is the Crystal Core, which is a 5-mana spell that says all of your minions for the rest of the game are 5/5.
Pretty sure we all gave this a 1.
Yeah.
We were like, this card's unplayable. Don't touch it. And then we played against it in ladder, like all 3 of us, and we're like, oh wait, they have Ferryman, Shadow Step, Mimic Pod, and the Brewmaster, all of which bouncing 1-drops to your hand. And we're like, oh, so that's how that works. Not
on the first day of the expansion, I think Dog hit. I believe it was rank 1 legend.
Yeah.
I know he got pretty high, if not rank 1 legend. Yeah, he got rank 1 legend, right? With this quest, like everyone thought it was so bad, but it turns out it's not. Like I've been playing it on ladder. Like it's just nuts. The quest this is one of the easiest quests to get off, surprisingly.
Yeah.
But it's crazy because it seems so hard to get off.
So.
Yeah, you can just get it off on turn 4 if you draw the nuts.
Combos with the Crystal Core reward.
With the reward, exactly. It's just insane. So yeah,
there's so much ways to tech this deck too with the freeze card with taunts. Like people are running Shield Bearer. Like,
Shield
like
Bearer.
That. It's just crazy.
You also run a Bilefin Tide Hunter. Yeah. Which one's the one that summons a 1/1? I can't remember. The one that summons a 1/1 taunt.
Yeah. That card's really good.
Yeah.
It's just there's so much it's like so much ways to build the deck.
Yeah. Like Firefly, Igneous Elemental.
Yeah.
You have the Pirate package still. You have Swashbuckler. You got a South Sea Deckhand. You like people are running Stone Tusk Boar. Like
I'm running Stone Tusk Boar in my deck, dude. Isn't that insane?
Yeah.
Stone Tusk Boar is part of the meta. That's nuts.
Oh my god, this card's definitely a 5 out of 5 for all of us. I think so. Like it is a meta-defining, rogue class-defining card. Like this card's
that is just so strong. Like it's insane.
Probably the most played class card out of any card right now.
Yeah. So it's 5 out of 5 from all of us. This card's absolutely bonkers. And the only reason I've closed out of the slideshow is that so we can move on to our next segment, and we're going to be talking about our overrated cards. These are cards that we looked at and we're like, man, this card's great. This card's super sweet. And then it turned out that, maybe we
wasn't that good.
It wasn't that good, or maybe it wasn't as good as we thought it was. Maybe it is still good, but like not like, oh my God, like you have to play this card or else you're doing it wrong. But so we're going to start off our overrated list with Kalamos, the Primal Lord. I think we all gave this card a 5 out of 5 straight off the bat, saying that like Shaman is going to be running the show in the new meta. Like this card is absolutely bonkers. It is so much utility. It's so great. A lot of the elemental cards to go along with it are amazing. 5 out of 5. You should be totally playing Elemental Shaman. And then it turned out that Kalamos is pretty good. Yeah, but I don't know if it's meta defining.
Yeah,
like Kalamos is still good. Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's still really good. Like if you're playing Elemental Shaman, you play this card.
Yeah, of
The
course.
thing is, Elemental Shaman is not nearly as good as we thought it would be.
Yeah.
It's still a strong deck, but like, it's not as meta-defining as we anticipated.
Yeah.
It just dies to Rogue, so
Yeah.
Yeah, it just gets wrecked by a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's
it's
really
still.
good
I
against
mean,
Fire Warrior though.
it is. It is. It's the anti-aggro class now. It's kind
Yep.
of ironic, but
Yeah,
Shaman
right.
is the anti-aggro class.
But there are still like aggro shaman lists roaming around, and like there are
Yeah.
still like a good amount of mid-range shamans that are running sort of a mix between the Jades and the Kalamos at the same time, the elemental package. But
I
like,
feel like aggro shaman might become a thing because Flame Tongue Totem is still OP. Firefly is can be a pretty aggressive card.
Yep.
You still
I
still
think-
got patches. It can come back, but
Yep.
for now
Yeah,
it's
I
the
don't think
anti-aggro
this is a
class.
good ladder deck, but in tournaments, it's a really good choice because of just like it has really good matchups that just beats almost every time.
Yep.
So
Yeah, if you're trying to
put
target
that
aggro,
into
then yeah.
someone.
yeah. So Kalamos, maybe not a 5 out of 5, maybe like a 4 out of 5, at worst a 3 out of 5. But like if you're playing shaman and you're playing elementals, you just put Kalamos in your deck, and every single time you see it off of Servant of Kalamos, you're getting it. Like this card is still very, very good.
This card's still like very strong.
Yeah.
But Elemental
It
Shaman
doesn't
overall.
force people to play the deck,
Yeah.
not Kazakus level.
Yeah. It's
Yeah, exactly.
it's
not-
the
not
other way
exact-
around. You don't play shaman because of Kalamos. You play Kalamos because you're an elemental shaman.
Yeah, that sounds like a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna wait a little bit for the slideshow to catch up. Do. But yeah, I mean, I think the only thing is like we rated all the invocations fairly high, but then like when I watch people play this card, it's usually like deal 3 damage to your opponent's minions or heal yourself. Like
Yeah,
that's
it's just
mostly
Yeah.
the things. Like I've never seen anyone summon a bunch of 1/1s.
Well, usually you
Can
have
be
a
good
board,
against.
so-
Yeah. Usually you do have the board, so you don't really need the 1/1s. But
All right, so the next
Yeah.
overrated card that we're going to talk about is Tidal Surge. Is a 4-mana shaman spell. Deal 4 damage to a minion, restore 4 health to your hero. And I remember looking at this card and just being like, oh, wow, that's sweet. Like, I get to be, it's another burn card. I get to be a little bit more aggressive. It's also like a super defensive card. Like, there are a lot of relevant cards with 4 health and less that you can deal 4 damage to, kill them, heal in quotes, because you remove that minion from the board, and then heal, not in quotes, because of the other half of this card.
yeah. Thing is, I think this card just gets outclassed by Jade Lightning.
Yep.
Yeah, Jade's are just so much better because it's more tempo, right?
Yep.
Yeah, like if Jade Lightning rotates, when Jade Lightning rotates out, then this might take that spot. But I think as long as Jades are in the game, like you don't want to run 2 4-mana 4 damage things. This also only hits minions, doesn't hit face.
Yep.
So it's a lot less flexible. But like in like very defensive control-y shamans, it's probably better than Jade Lightning if you're not running a Jade package. But
Mm-hmm.
Overall, it just gets
Drake
outclassed.
rotated out, so that's the main 4 health target.
That too,
you wanna
yeah.
hit.
because there's less targets in the meta for 4 damage to a minion.
Yep. I mean, the other thing is like I looked at this card and said, "Hey, Halaziel is still in this is still with us. Like we might be losing Elemental Destruction, which was like one of the big cards to go along with it."
You have
but it's-
Volcano back though.
Yeah.
Which is pretty good.
So I was like, "Oh,
It's
cool!
strong.
4 mana, deal 4 damage, restore 8 health if you have Halaziel." And I thought,
Sure.
"Oh wow, Halaziel is going to be an elemental," and apparently he's not, which doesn't make any sense to me.
Oh, he's not.
Yeah, how weird is that?
Oh.
like.
I don't know too much about the lore.
Is he like an elemental in the lore or
Well,
something?
yeah, Halaziel was supposed to be like the combination of like 4 like shamans that have like tapped into the very elements and bent them to their will. So then they molded together and made Halaziel and this whole like elemental monstrosity, and then is not an elemental.
Feels
That's
bad, man.
kinda
You guys
strange.
can all look up like a raid and cataclysm called what is it, Bastion of Twilight, and the 3rd boss in there is Halaziel, I'm fairly certain. And it, like you're killing elementals on the way in there. All 4 bosses represent all 4 elements from the thing, and then they combine together to make the Halaziel. And then I was like, why aren't you an elemental? Okay, I mean, it's not my game, so Rathion's not a dragon either. So okay, whatever. Even though he is.
Well, Rathion has a
Was
lower
it-
reason to not be a dragon.
Well, yeah, but he is a dragon. Okay, whatever. We're gonna go on to the next card. It's Crystalline Oracle. It's the 1-mana 1/1 Death Rattle. Copy a card from your opponent's deck and add it to your hand. I remember talking about this card a lot because I really like the priest quest, which we will also get to in a little bit. And it was like, man, this card's gonna be great in the quest. And then on top of that, it's an elemental. That's super cool. And then this Death Rattle is drawing another card. That's awesome. You get to draw a card for free. Like, that's so cool. But like most of the time, you have to look at it and just be like, oh, is this better than Northshire Cleric? Oh, it isn't. Okay.
Usually it's not.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still a decent card. Like, it's not bad, but
I don't really like. Sometimes it gets played, but it's hard to justify a spot in your deck for it.
Yeah.
yeah, like most of the priest lists right now are almost like tempo combo kind of oriented. Like they run like Purify. Not Purify. They don't always run Purify, but they run like Radiant Elemental. They run Shadow Visions. They run like Lyra.
Mm-hmm.
This card doesn't really fit with that game plan because this is a much more value card.
Yep.
Yeah. Has anyone tried an Elemental Priest yet?
Yeah, because I was
Is that
gonna
even
say,
possible?
yeah, because you
I
have
mean, it
Light
has two
Spawn,
class
you
elementals.
have Radiant Elemental, you have Lyra, and you have this. Those are your elemental cards.
Wait, Lyra's an Elemental?
Yeah, Lyra's
Oh.
an elemental.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Maybe it might be good. I don't know.
I
It
don't think
seems like
so.
a decent tempo deck, but
I don't know. Like, I'm looking
It's
at this
first
card,
level.
and like, unless you're running Mirage Collar to go along with it to copy its Death
Lyra
Rattle,
is element.
yeah. Unless you're playing a Mirage Collar in order to copy it, like, is it really that much better than Firefly? Like,
oh, it's probably not.
yeah.
Yeah, it's not really. I
Like-
mean,
like
it's
if
a
you-
good, it's a decent value card, but I mean, it's just not that. It's not
Yeah.
doesn't
It's-
cut it.
It's like okay, but like, is it run in every priest deck? No. Is Elemental a relevant tag? No. Is Death Rattle even relevant to some of these priest decks? Maybe, but it's still
it's
not
a good
amazing.
Death Rattle, but I mean,
Yeah.
it's just outclassed by the other options, right? Like,
Yep.
if you really want to play Elemental Priest,
You play Firefly.
Firefly, you're already running Firefly, and
Right.
You're, like,
If
you're
you're
running
playing
Northshire Cleric,
like
remember,
a Lyra or a Purified deck, you're running Northshire Cleric. If you're running an Elemental deck, you're running Firefly. And even if you're running like Death Rattle, you're running Mistress of Mixtures.
Well, you run this too if you're running like Awaken the Makers.
Okay.
You just run them both. But yeah,
Yeah. So this is oh, we are going to move on to the next card though. So this is oh my god, I remember talking about this card. This is Jungle Giants. This is the Druid quest. Summon 5 minions with 5 or more attack and you get Barnabas, which is the 5 mana 8/8 that turns all minions into your deck to 0. Yeah, this seemed like a pretty sweet playoff, but too bad you have to wait to turn 3 to even resolve 1 minion with 5 attack if you're running Shell Shifter. Or
yeah. It's just
Also, it
really
doesn't decrease
slow.
the cost of cards in your hand, which
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
brings the meme value. Like, I had so many plans for this deck. I was going to make Blood of the Ancient Ones decks. I was going to make Malagos Faceless.
yeah.
But
Yeah, exactly.
none
Like,
of that
if-
works because you draw them and you lose.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if it works with your hand, then you can make combo druid could still exist, like Malagos Druid. Like, I would love to play this card if like a combo sort of thing worked with it, but it only works with cards in your deck, not your hand, which makes it
Yeah,
so
it's really
much worse.
disappointing.
It'd be
Yeah.
super sweet if there was like a card that was released that was like shuffle a card from your hand into your deck and then draw that many cards.
Yeah, would be pretty nice. But hopefully
even-
we might get that.
But even that card could screw you over too. Like, oh
Yeah.
man, we could run Cthulhu with this and just be like, get Cthulhu to cost 0 mana and then play Cthulhu, get the battle cry, and then play something else. Like, that's cool. But once again, if
Or, like,
you draw
Oh, you can't
Cthulhu,
like Cthulhu Brewmaster combos or something, but you can't because
yeah,
you draw Cthulhu, you lose.
yeah,
Yeah, and then Cthulhu, once you Brewmaster him, he still costs 10.
yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Uh,
If it was like an aura effect or something.
Yeah, if it was Crystal Core style, then it would just be insane.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so many wacky decks could be made with it, but unfortunately, Blizzard was afraid of balance, I guess.
They're
Yes.
afraid of it becoming because they're afraid of combos, and it's it's like they don't want to make too many combo cards. They're not very good at avoiding combo cards though. But
But like, Crystal Core is like one of the most amazing combo cards ever.
yeah, they just see the thing is like combo decks in Hearthstone are never made on purpose. They're like it's like Blizzard's like dumb and they don't realize that they've accidentally made a combo card here.
Oops.
That's usually how it works. Like they thought Freeze was gonna be bad, Now look where we are. Freeze Mage is one of the best decks.
Oh
Yeah,
my God.
Primordial Glyph is just insane.
Yeah, who'd have thought,
Yeah.
right? Primordial Glyph is a great card. That's a card we didn't over or underrate. That card is still
I
amazing.
underrated that card. I didn't think it was good. I didn't think it'd be good enough. But it's nuts. I eat my words. That card's insane.
Yep,
But
I gave it a 5 out of 5. So
All right, so we're going to move on to our next card, and this one is near and dear to a lot of our hearts, as all of the three of us like to play Hunter. It is a 1-mana, 2/1 beast, Death Rattle, shoving a 4/3 Raptor into your deck. It's Small Raptor, or Raptor Hatchling. I don't know why I have a picture that says Small Raptor on it. It's Raptor
I think
Hatchling.
there's a mistranslation.
Yeah, I don't know. It's Raptor
Small
Hatchling.
Raptor.
Small Raptor.
get it close enough.
That is. Wait, actually, if that was actually the name of the card, that has to be the most uninspiring name in all of Hearthstone. Like
Right?
Small Raptor. Like.
Yeah.
Oh my God! But I remember talking about this card because like, yeah, man, think about the quest. Like, you get 2 1-drops.
Quest synergy.
Whoa, like
Oh,
so
yeah.
good. And then you play
There's
this.
just better 1-drops, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, they're just better 1-drops anyway.
yeah. Like I remember trying to play this in mid-range Hunter, and then Moosey looked at the list. He's like, "Why aren't you playing Fiery Bat?" I was like, "Oh yeah."
Oh yeah, that's card.
Oh
Then
yeah, I
there's
forgot
Alley
that
Cat
that really
and,
good 1-drop.
Golden Macaw.
Yeah.
The thing
Like,
about Small Raptor, right, is like if you're playing mid-range
my God,
Hunter,
you're
do you
calling
even
it.
want to draw?
Raptor
or what's-
Hatchling.
I was just reading off of the. I have the stream up as well.
Oh, okay.
No, the Raptor Hatchling. Think about this. The Raptor Hatchling is that like, how often do you actually want a 4/3? Like, do you want to draw that, or do you want to draw Savannah Highbane? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, High Main is just better.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
a lot of the
exactly.
times when we
That's-
talk about adding a card to your deck, you really have to talk about, well, do I want this card over like this other card? Like, what happens when I draw?
Yeah. Like, do you even want to draw the card? Right? Like, I
Yeah.
don't think I want a 1-mana 4/3.
It'd be
I'd
good. with
rather be
Evil
drawing the
Warden,
other-
but that's just
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's with Tolbeer Warden. That's true.
What-
If you're
what
running
we-
Tolbeer Warden, it's not the worst thing. But
Yeah.
I mean,
But
Not the
even
best.
then, like, isn't Jeweled Macaw just a better pickup? Like, Jeweled Macaw literally gives you anything. It could even be a boat. Like, you don't even know.
yeah, yeah. No, I mean the reward. The
Many of
4/3 is
Charging
good enough.
Tyrantus with Jeweled Macaw.
Oh my
So-
God. I remember that game. That was against that guys played against that guy. we had an EGF tournament recently where Guiyze's opponent played Jeweled Macaw and got a Tyrantus off of it and decided not to play it on turn 10, and that was like possibly one of the least exciting moments of EGF Hearthstone I've ever seen. Like, wow, you have like one of the most amazing 10-drops in the game and you're gonna win if you play it, and then he didn't play it, and I was like, what are you doing? Come on, man.
Yeah, why win when you
At
could
least-
BM a little bit, right?
At least play it for the meme value, dude. Tyrantus.
Yeah, dude. We're gonna move on to our next card, and it is one I definitely overrated a lot, and it's a 2-mana 2/2. It is Clutch Mother Zavis. Whenever you discard this, give it +2/+2 and return it to your hand. I totally overrated this card like a lot, and I was like, man, Disco Lock was really good in Karazhan, and then it wasn't pushed in Gadgetzan, so it fell off a little bit, but now it's being pushed. So a deck that was already really good, that's now being pushed, should be great. This should be a slam dunk, easy 5 out of 5, right? And then you play it, and you're just like, well, I have a 2-mana 6/6. I'm going to play my Doomguard instead. And then you end up just never playing this card.
Yeah, that's the thing with it. Like, I don't. It's very polarizing because a lot of people seem to like it, but I don't think it's that good because I want to be playing minions. I don't want to be holding things in my hand like that when I'm playing.
Like, it's not a
well,
bad card on its own.
It's not
but,
horrible. Yeah.
Like, there's
just-
just better things you want to play usually, and it's usually not too impactful when it does get played, even if it's buffed once or twice.
Yep.
Yeah, like
You're
it
already
just
ahead on
sits
board by that time, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it's still a decent card, but I don't think it's as good as. I just don't think it's that great.
Yeah.
The
Like,
only thing good about it is it prevents you from discarding a card you might want.
Yeah, that's like the value of it, right? It lets you keep other cards and discard this one instead.
yep.
Yeah,
Which I
it's
guess
a
has some
potential
value.
for a card.
Yeah, which does have some value, but I mean, I don't know. It just feels like a dead card most of the time. Like you just never like it just sits in your hand. You never end up playing it.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's still probably played in a lot of Zulok decks, but
Yeah.
I don't think it's something I would say craft because you don't need it at all.
Yeah. If
Yeah,
you
yeah,
get
you
it
don't
in a
have to.
pack, like maybe you can slide it in there, but don't go ahead and craft this. This isn't a 5 out of 5. This is like a 3. this is like a 4 at best, but like maybe it's like a 3, maybe
No,
a 2.5.
I give it like
give it a
it's
3.
it's a hard. It's like a soft 3.
A soft 3, a little
Yeah.
soft. I don't know. Whenever people say like a soft or a hard 3, like I always think like they're like touching something. Like I always think like this is like a hard 3, and they're like punching the ground, or they're just like this
Hard
is a
3,
soft
right
3, and they're just going and like softly caressing
Caressing
something.
their palms.
Like
Yeah.
I don't know why I think that, but you know that's just what goes through my head. But yeah, Clutch Mother's Outfit, it's just okay. It's not like great, but with that we're gonna move on to our next overrated card, and that was Awaken the Makers. And I think this is mostly just me and guys just like eating our words, because Moosey totally didn't overrate this
Yeah,
card.
yeah, yeah. You just
He was
scratched
just
Well,
like-
I mean, I underrated what's it called, Fire Plume's
Yeah.
Heart or something. Whatever
Yeah,
it's
so
called.
he was totally like, yeah, you're gonna be dead by the time this quest goes off, and even if it does go off, like there are still a lot of times where you still lose, and that's exactly what this is. Like Moosey hit the nail on the head here. Like we were like,
Yeah,
oh
basically.
man, you can so easily play so many death rattles, and there's like a decent number of cards that you can play. You have N'Zoth on top of that, even if the game goes super late and you still haven't resolved it. Like and then on top of that, you get a 5 mana 8/8 with taunt that sets your health to 40. Like that's awesome. Like there's so many good things about this, and then like you play it and you're like, wow, this is a lot cool. Yeah, oh, pirates killed me.
Yeah, I played like 300 games this month, and I haven't seen this card go off once. I've seen the quest be played, but I haven't seen Amara be played.
I've seen it go off a couple times when I was playing Quest Mage, and every time they stole my ice block with like the crystalline oracles.
I've had that.
So you know, unlucky.
I've had this deck go off against me a few times, but that's only because I started at much lower rank than these two. And I remember some of the games where it went off, I was playing Taunt Warrior, and they were just like top decking, and they were able to get nothing. Or they played N'Zoth, I'd brawl them, and I'd press the button, and they did just die.
8 damage, boy.
8 damage, 8 damage, 8 damage, 8 damage. Like, you know, how does this stack up against like Quest, Rogue, and Warrior, which are arguably two of the best quests, or just the two best
I wouldn't
quests hands
use the
down?
argument. They're just the two best quests.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like this how does this handle against a board full of 5/5s or just a 2 mana deal 8 damage button that they still can't get through the minions? That is still packing a decent amount of removal as well. Like some decks are running King Mosh along with Whirlwind in order to clear the board. Some decks are running just 2 brawls and like a million Whirlwind effects and execute. Like this deck like it seems okay. It's not absolute garbage, but it's not like the best deck ever. Oh my god, holy crap, like this is so cool. Like this meta defining, this is the best priest deck. Like I don't even know if it's even the best priest deck. Like
If you play
definitely
Death
not.
Rattles, you don't even include this card.
yeah.
Yeah, honestly, like you don't even run this card.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe you play it like the turn before you N'Zoth because it has the summon effect, but probably
That's
Yeah,
the
like
thing, yeah. But,
all right. We're going to move on to the next card, and it's a 7 mana 4/4 Battle Cry. If you played an elemental last turn, summon 2/3 elementals with taunt. This is the Stone Sentinel. And I remember talking about this card. I was like, wow, the amount of stats you get on this for playing for a turn after Fire Elemental is already super sweet. Like you're getting like 4/6 plus 4/4. So that's an 8/10 amount of stats on the board for 7 mana.
Yeah.
That's really good. 2/2/3s
fun.
of which are taunt. But the problem is that the minions that you make are 2/3s, which means they're vulnerable to so many AoE effects. Just so many. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've played Stone Sentinel, be like, yeah, got this, and then Flame Strike. I was like, oh, well, okay.
Yep.
It's like, yeah, Stone
It's just,
Sentinel!
it's just kinda,
Lightning Storm.
It's kind of slow. Like it's a pile of stats, but like
yeah.
it's good against
It's
aggro.
way too slow for any, I guess, mid-range elemental mage or shaman to play.
Yeah.
Like, you usually play Kalamos at 8, but besides that, you don't really play anything high besides like Aya
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Servant.
Or even
Like,
like
it's good off
Blazecaller
Servant,
could even be better
but-
than this.
Yeah, even Blaze Caller is potentially better than this. card.
420 Blaze at Elemental. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Blaze
Blaze
up.
Caller is definitely better, I
Yeah.
would say.
Like I think it's in some decks, in some metas it could be better. Like in like sort of a mid range meta, I think this card would be very good because that's literally it's for the most part just board. Like you're playing
Right.
from board. But
The first day I tried playing 2 of these and 2 of Blaze Callers in my deck, and then I would just end up with like 4 7 drops in my opening hand. And
Yeah,
lose.
exactly.
So like you
Yo,
can't
but you got
have
the
your
dude that
curve
reduces all
high.
elementals by 1, and then you have 4 6 drops in your hand.
Yeah,
You know,
and
like,
it's
Elemental
not good
Shaman?
enough.
Does Elemental Shaman actually run the 2-mana 1/1?
No, you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't
They
even.
played it the first couple of days, but
Yeah.
then it was just like, this card's bad. It's worse than Mech Warper.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's just kind of slow.
The thing about Mech Warper was, like, although it was a constant effect and you could get rid of it, it was a 2-mana 2/3. So that
Yeah,
it was
it was
a
a
lot
mech.
harder to remove. But, like,
yeah, you didn't lose tempo.
when you're playing against Taunt Warrior that's playing Whirlwinds, when you're playing against Shamans that are running, whatever portal, Maelstrom Portal, or you're playing against a mage that is ping or a rogue that has, like, there's so many easy ways to deal 1 damage in this meta, and playing that 2-mana 1/1 is really bad. So a lot of the elemental synergies in Shaman are just reduced, like, a lot. So we're going to get onto our number 2 overrated card, and this is another card that I think me and Guiyze are now eating our words on, and or maybe just me, because this was the Shiinkari sacrifice, and his quest: discard 6 cards, and your reward is another portal, a 5-mana permanent card that summons 2 3/2s at the end of your every turn.
See, initially I thought it was 1, but it's actually 2, which means it's
Yeah.
a little bit less bad, but it's still not that
Yeah,
good.
because that portal has, like, no immediate impact on the board, right? And you're like,
Well, it does. Summon 2 3/2s.
Well, yeah. It summons 2
yeah.
3/2s, totally. Like, but
But I mean, you'd rather just play
Then you
Doomguard.
just die.
yeah, but
yeah,
then
they
you just
die.
die because the 3/2s don't have any text on them. They're just 3/2s. They don't have taunt. They don't have divine shield. They don't have some ridiculous ability like, oh, death rattle, deal damage to your opponent, or something like that. They're just 3/2s. And at this point, like, if you're playing a 5-mana card, like, do you play the Doomguard to possibly end the game or get closer to end the game, or do you play the portal to make 2 3/2s?
Also,
I mean,
the
I
quest
still
is
think-
pretty hard to get off.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it's not like you just get it off naturally whenever you're doing your stuff.
Yeah,
right?
but
it
like,
takes a while.
you get it really late.
Yeah, exactly.
Most of the
Exactly.
time.
You end
Not
up having to,
impact.
like, if you don't have a Malkazar's Imp and, like, discarding a bunch of cards off of that, or even if you're not running a Clutch Mother Zavis or a Darkshire Librarian, you run out of cards fairly quickly. And that's from playing this deck. That's from me being at rank 18, slamming my fists against the table, being like, why doesn't this card work? I said this card was going to be great, and it's not, and I
Deathwing.
feel bad.
I crafted this card, dude. I crafted this. I crafted
Luckily, I
this. I
didn't.
feel so sad.
No, it's
I
okay,
played, like,
man.
2
I
games with
totally
this and I
crafted
realized
Princess
it was bad.
Huhuran last meta. I was like, oh man,
I did
Princess
that as well,
Huhuran,
so.
Death Rattle Hunter. Oh, dude, it's totally gonna happen, 100%.
I also crafted Hobart, so
Hey, I crafted Hobart too, man.
Bovar.
Regrets.
I can't, like, this is just another one of those moments of, like, man, this card's gonna be super sweet. I'm gonna craft it, spend my 1,600 dust, and then it's just, oh no.
It's pretty
Yeah, it's just
underwhelming.
way
yeah.
too
Yeah, it's really
I feel
underwhelming.
like there might be if there's ever like a control warlock that works with discard, this card's great because it's literally infinite value.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to test that right now. But I feel like in the end, like, after I play some games, like, it's just going to be like, man, I discarded a bunch of my removal spells, and now, like, this Cruel Dinomancer doesn't do anything, and also this Shiinkari sacrifice feels really bad because I'm just dead.
Yeah.
And with that, we
yeah,
are going to
like,
move
it's
on.
trying to be part of 2 different decks
Yeah.
at once, and it fails to do either.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're going to move on to our number 1 overrated card. And
I crafted this too.
the number
didn't.
1 most overrated card, and it's the Marsh Queen. It's a quest, play 7/1, cost minions, and your reward is Queen Karnasa, 5-mana 8/8 that shuffles 15 1-drops into your deck. The 1-drops are 3/2s that say Battlecry, draw a card. Now, I remember initially talking about these guys with this card and saying, like, wow, you're doing a lot of the things that Hunter already wants you to do. There's a lot of cards that support this quest, and you know, this reward is incredibly good, and then the 3/2s that you get shuffled into your deck continually cycle through each other. So even if they get removed, you still have, like, a bunch sitting in your hand anyway. What really ends up happening is that you run out of cards in your hand, you get the Queen Karnasa, and you pray to God that you top deck a 3/2 so that you can play more 3/2s.
Right.
And then
Basically.
you die.
And the thing is, like, you have to run. I believe they did the math somewhere. You have to run 27 1-drops to consistently get the Marsh Queen off on turn 5 or 6. And then on top of that, the odds that you draw a Raptor after that, the odds that you chain Raptors are so
Less
low.
than 50.
Yeah.
Yeah, less than 50. Like less than 50 to draw one Raptor, let alone chain them.
Yeah.
Which means that like even if you so you have to run 28 7/1 drops, and even if you get the Marsh Queen off, you're still just drawing one drop essentially. Yep. Most of the time you're not drawing your 3/2s.
Yep. And
so therefore it's just not that good.
I have tried so hard to make this deck work. I put in the Fireflies. I even put in Runic Eggs. Like, I put in Runic Eggs into this deck, thinking that, like, hey, I could just Abusive Sergeant it, trade it in, draw a card. Sweet. And if my opponent board wipes me, like, okay, I can draw another card. And if I draw this during the time where I want to just cycle cards, like, okay, Abusive Sergeant, trade it in, dies. Right? Perfect. It's a cycle. Yeah. It's a 1-mana. Okay, cool. I put in Fireflies, I put in Abusive Sergeants, I put in Argent Squires, I put in Raptor Hatchlings, I put in like all the great 1-drops that you have access to, and I played them. I got the quest done, I played it, and then my opponent was just like, okay, you have to trade with me or else you die. And it's just like, okay, I trade away my 3/2s, and then I don't have any 3/2s left, and my Queen Carnassa's dead, and my opponent has better board position than I do.
Yeah, exactly. It just runs out of steam.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
This
card,
card,
I'm pretty sure we all thought it was insane.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Everyone, even all.
Everybody thought it was insane.
Yeah.
Like not just us. Like everyone thought it was insane.
Yeah.
But it's
the
not.
Trogzor of the set.
Trogzor.
Yeah.
It is Trogzor. Everyone was like, why would you play Dr. Boom when you can play Trogzor? Like, whoa, dude. Like, why would you even? Oh man.
But turns out it's garbage.
Oh yeah, man. Don't play this card. If you get it in a pack, I think it might just be better to disenchant it, unless you really want to try to make it work in some casual deck. Like, it's still, like, a lot of fun to play. Like, all the animations you get are super sweet, and, like, the deck you put together is cool, too. Like, I wouldn't, like, write it off as a completely useless card, like, if you get it to immediately disenchant it. But I would say disenchant it if you need, like, some better cards, like the Crystal Core, or Fireplume's Heart, or maybe just a bunch of other stuff. That does it for us here. And we've seen like a lot of different cards, and I feel like we should have had like an honorable mentions list, just like cards that we might have like gone under our radar, or cards that we might have like gone like a little too hard on. Just have like a little bit of a longer list, because I feel like there are still a lot of cards. Like we talked about the Fireplume Harbinger. We talked about the Flames Harbinger, like the 2-mana 1/1 that reduces all the elementals and cost in your hand by 1. It's just like, well, it's just worse than Jade Claws, and turns out the elemental package is not that great. So I'd rather just play Blood Mage Thalnos, even Spirit Claws. Like, so
even Spirit Claws is better.
Spirit Claws in 2017, yeah.
Well,
also, I apologize to anyone who we convinced to craft these really bad cards.
Yeah.
Wasn't my
Especially the
fault.
legendaries.
No.
I apologize to a lot of people. Who are like,
I convinced myself to craft these cards. And I'd rather have the dust now.
Yeah.
I want to craft Sunkeeper Terram and stuff like that.
yeah, I have some.
I want to craft the cards we thought were bad, but no.
I mean, this just.
Unlucky.
Yeah, man. I like looking back now, like I would totally love to have cards like I didn't have Open the Waygate at first. I was like, yeah, Lakari Sacrifice. That's my card. Now I don't have any Primordial Glyphs, and I really want to play that deck. Like
honestly, I don't think Waygate is that good anymore either.
I think it's still fun though.
It's still fun, but it's just better. It's just not as good as Freeze Mage. But it's still really fun to play. It's still super fun to play.
Sometimes you just get off Exodia and have a
and
blast.
My deck has no pathetic cards, Kaiba, but it does contain the unstoppable Exodia.
There you go.
Sorcerer's Apprentice. Molten Reflection. Archmage Antonitis. Fireball.
Yeah, I never got to play that deck originally with duplicates and Echo. So
Yeah,
I'm glad I got to try out the new version now.
Yeah. I mean,
Super fun.
I actually have made a wild deck that plays Open the Waygate that does nothing but add cards from outside your deck into your hand. So there's Nexus Champion Sarad, there's Babbling Book, it's just the Kabbalist Tome, like all the standard stuff, and then it also has like Elise Starseeker, like freaking
That's a good choice.
Ethereal Conjurer, It has Flame Geyser in there too because it adds a 1/2 to your hand. Oh man, I can't think of like
Wait,
a bunch.
does Elemental Mage or Waygate Mage play the new Elise?
Does it?
It probably
No.
should.
You could.
I mean, I feel like your hand's already full of cards anyway. I feel like you just
I suppose-
overdraw.
Yeah. Usually your hand is too full.
Yeah. But I feel like that's a topic for another episode. Thanks everyone for watching. We did go about as long as we thought we were going to. Still a little bit long, but it's an hour long. This is a doozy. we'd like to thank our editor for his long hours of work on our incredibly long episodes.
Yeah.
I'll be
Poor
enjoying
editor.
spending 4 hours on listening to us talk about card games.
Yeah, our 4-hour stream where we talked about friggin' the cards that were going to be great in Ungoro, and then like a good number of them we were wrong on. Oops.
Yeah.
All right, so that does it for us here. I'd like to thank Amar Guiyze and also Peter Moosey Knudsen for joining me today and talking about our a little bit of our mistakes during our card review. Make sure to press the follow button on our Twitch stream. That's right above us now. They did a little bit of a change on Twitch, and make sure to follow us. Yeah, it's like up here, up in this
Somewhere around.
It's like up in this direction. It's like up there, fairly certain.
You can't see your camera still.
I can't even see where Twitch is because I don't have the website open. So I'm just kind of guessing.
My thing's mirrored on the stream. I put it in the wrong direction. Damn it.
All right. So make sure to press the follow button on Twitch. We also EGF does a lot of tournaments for Hearthstone, League of Legends, and Overwatch. They also do lots of podcasts on League of Legends and as well Smite. We also have a bunch of other shows that are in the works right now, so make sure to press that follow button. We have a lot of cool content. We also have a YouTube channel, Electronic Gaming Federation. We are also on Twitter at official EGF. We also have a Facebook page, so make sure to check all that social media out. But until then, this is Shiinkari, Guiyze, and Moosey, and may your high rolls be ever in your favor. Catch you guys later. Goodbye.